Hey everyone, my name is Elizabeth Caldwell. I'm the news director at Public Radio Tulsa. This is our noon newscast or our live at lunch. And today I want to talk about an interview that we published on publicradiotulsa.org. You can see it here. It's with veteran Tulsa World reporter Randy Crable, and it's about his new book, Tulsa 2021. Here it is. It's about modern attempts to deal with the 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre. And as people who live in Tulsa probably know, 2021 was the centennial anniversary of the Race Massacre, which is known as one of the most deadly acts of racial violence in the history of the country, or at least it's been called that. And the book goes through the pretty incredible events surrounding the anniversary, like the Trump rally that was planned for Juneteenth and then moved, the John Legend concert that was planned and then canceled, and the sort of many other extraordinary things that happened. And, what people in the community were dealing with at that time. And Randy was nice enough to come and sit down with us in the KWGS studio. And one thing he talked about was how tense this period of time was, like how much people were really dealing with. There was so much national attention on Tulsa. And in a Tulsa World article that I read, he said he didn't even really want to write this book. He didn't want to write it. But when he came in, I asked him, how did you end up writing a book that you didn't want to write? And this is what he said.
I was convinced, someone convinced me that it would be worth putting in the record, so to speak. And I guess I have kind of a compulsion to put things in the record. Many years ago when I went off to college, I thought I was probably going to wind up being a history teacher. And I tell people I fell in with the wrong people and wound up working at newspapers instead. But I really fell in. I really bought into the idea and continue to buy into the idea of news as the first rough draft of history. And really, local news is like the community diary. It tells you what was important that day and everything from what the weather was like to what people were most interested in.
So basically, he couldn't stop himself, and he has great respect for local news, calling it the community diary. He's a history buff. Another part of the interview that I really liked was when he compared his first book to his second book. The first book is focused on the year 1921, and the second book is about modern times grappling with the legacy of the massacre. So this is book one, and this is book two. And this is what Randy said about the differences between the two books.
And as so what I was trying to do was, at least in part, was point out what's changed and what hasn't.
And that was interesting to me, the fact that from 1921 to 2021, some things have not changed. And you ask yourself that question when you read the two books. And it seems like a good time to move on to another story, totally unrelated. I want to talk about a story we're looking at here at KWGS, and that is white South Africans being granted refugee status at a time when Afghans who helped us fight the Taliban are afraid they will be deported. And, there's general trepidation in the immigrant community. The Episcopalian Church has broken with the government and says it will not take refugees. And a lot of refugee resettlement efforts come from religious organizations like Catholic Charities, like the Episcopalian Church. Here in Tulsa, Catholic Charities is a big player, and other organizations. So you'll see a story from us on that soon. There's a vigil tonight at All Souls Unitarian with tons of faith leaders. And we're also reaching out to our congressional reps about the federal budget. This is Donald Trump's first big piece of legislation, and there's a lot going on with it. So we're trying to localize that story for you. And that's all I have for you today. We've been looking for ways to make this stream longer because we, want to be in this space and realize it's pretty vital, but 5 minutes doesn't seem sufficient. We want people to be able to drop by for a few minutes, but if we're only streaming for 3 minutes, that doesn't really work. So stay tuned for developments around this live stream. And meanwhile, you can listen to us online at publicradiotulsa.org or at 89.5 on your radio or smart speaker.